Well, hello, everybody. It's good to sit down and chat with a good friend of mine. This is Pastor Jason McCutcheon. Jason and I have known one another for many, many years. Our families go way back,
Mhm,
camp
mhm.
meetings and Bible college days, and we've been privileged to cross paths at different points over the years. And Jason is
Yeah,
currently
yeah,
serving at a wonderful church in North Bay on Ontario, and so he's back in my home province. And
yeah,
it's good to connect with Jason. And simply, I wanted to connect with Pastor Jason today just to kind of chat and catch up. He, along with his church family, they are walking through and reading the book of Luke during this Advent season. And I thought it would be neat
mhm, mhm.
just for the two of us to sit down and just kind of share with you some of the insights that we're hearing from you and how the reading challenge is going. So, hello to you, Jason. And I hear that the weather is absolutely wonderful in North Bay.
Well, hello to all you folks out there, and great to be with you today. You're certainly in conversation. Certainly turns often to longing to go out east. My wife is from Nova Scotia, and we have been missing our annual visit out east, and so blessings to everybody there. But yeah, it's a little chilly here. I think it feels like minus 20, 21 right now, which is a little bit of a cold spell even for us. But it's good. We one thing I do enjoy. I don't know what it's like in Fredericton, but I grew up in Southern Ontario. And in North Bay, it's just a little bit north enough that when it snows, it stays. And if it's going to snow, I'd rather it just stay and be snowy rather than freezing rain and melting. And so it's a great place to be. So
Excellent. Well, again, so good to have you on this call. Jason, maybe just share with us just a little bit kind of how this reading challenge got started within your local church. I know we were talking a little bit offline just before we came on camera how, this is a challenge we've seen at different times over the years on social media.
mhm.
And I happened to see prior to the 1st of December that your church was going to be taking part of this, and I thought it would be really neat just to connect and see how
Yeah.
it's going. I mean, one of the things I've noticed is that you've had different folks from your congregation reading a chapter each day, and you've been posting that
Mhm.
online. So
Mhm.
maybe share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember where I first heard, putting together the idea of reading, through the Gospel of Luke. There's 24 chapters. It was a few years ago, and I remember just thinking, "Hey, that's a good idea," to read. And then when you get to Christmas Day, you read the story of Christ, right? And so as we approach this year, of course, like all of us, I was kind of thinking, what are some ways that we can engage with people, and especially because this is such a different year. We're not doing, maybe normal Christmas events at the church. And so I thought of this idea again, which I've encouraged our church in the past casually to, hey, let's read through the Gospel of Luke. This year I put a little bit more emphasis on it. And my idea was partly to do something that was, of course, meaningful, but also COVID proof. Like if because that at that time, mid November, there was the question here: are they going to lock us down again? And contrary to popular belief, all of Ontario isn't locked down, just Toronto. Toronto is not all of Ontario, contrary to Torontonians. Um, but we decided to take it up a notch, and I had this idea of recording people in our church reading, uh, reading the passages and sharing that, and trying to create kind of an atmosphere where there would be, on social media, which is just the buzzword today, right? Just put out some stuff that would encourage people and help people connect with one another. Um, I do think my heart for it was, in some ways, it sounds like a very internal church thing, but my heart for it was to just maybe encourage those just outside the church, or those that we know that are watching us online but not attending in person, that they would be encouraged to jump on board and stuff. And so I recorded. I chose 6 people in our church and asked them if they would come in and read 4 chapters each, and then that's the 24 chapters. I would admit, my vision of it, I hadn't quite thought through all the work that I was giving myself, because as we read it, I mean, I enjoy. Some people hate technology. I kind of enjoy working with technology, I would admit. But I have these this was my vision for it, is that I have these audio files, and I kind of look at stuff like that and like, hey, how can we maximize the use of these, right? And so of course, I prepared each chapter as an MP3, and I made that available on our website, and I also made it available as a CD. Only one person took me up on that, but I always trying to think of those that aren't online. And but I also put the I put the audio to a video, because I knew I wanted to put it onto YouTube, because that's easier to share on social media than audio, just the way it works. So I talk about the work. I actually took the text of the scripture and made a keynote of it, and then made a movie of each chapter. So people, and this is actually how my wife Chrissy and I are doing it. We sit down for breakfast and we put our phone on the counter, and we pull up today's video, and we listen and read along with the scriptures from someone from one of the 6 people in our church. And there's been something special about it. Even I can speak first for myself, just kind of interacting with our church in that way. These are people we know well, right? And they're not perfect. I'm not trying to say they're not great recordings, but they're not perfect. They're very real readings. I remember one lady in our church, Angelica, she came in and she said, "You had to give me Luke chapter 3, and it had all the genealogy of Joseph." And I just said, let's just jump in just like we would on a Sunday morning. And she did great. There was a little bit of stumbling over some of the pronunciations, but I felt like that was what we wanted. We wanted just real. We didn't want something slick necessarily. We just wanted to interact with one another in that way. So that's kind of where it started, and what our journey, for sure. Yeah.
That's really neat, Jason, and I really appreciate what you were saying towards the end there about being real and being authentic. And I would definitely agree. This is certainly, walking through COVID, going through this pandemic, it's certainly accelerated certain things that we have seen within the life of the church. But one thing that hasn't been lost, and has probably even been more of a focal point for the global church, is this idea to genuinely be real and authentic in who we are as followers of Christ. And one of the ways that we've been able to do that during this Advent season is through this reading. And I had to chuckle to myself when you mentioned about the individual who was reading from Luke chapter 3. We were sitting down as a family, and it happened to be that night, and it got to our son, Andrew, and he just started looking through the list of names, and he's like, how am I going to get through this?
Exactly.
But as we got through it, and as we talked about it towards the end, one of the thoughts that just came around our table was this idea that, here was Luke giving a detailed geological account of how you can trace the earthly race all the way back to Adam. And that really had an impact on our kids. One of the other neat things that came out, one of the ladies in our local church, she mentioned to me one day, she said, I've been reading through, and she said, one of the things that's caught me almost chapter after chapter was when Jesus would be like, he already knew what they were thinking, and he would respond. And it was just like, that's how genuine he was in his response to people, is that maybe they weren't quite sure, who is this person where's he coming from? Is he really God in the flesh? How can he say all this? And without Jesus even being a part of the conversation, he just jumps right in and lays it out for them. And so it's been
Yeah,
really neat
yeah,
to have that interacting conversation
yeah,
with different people. And to your point, Jason, just about keeping things real, especially this Christmas, because it is going to
mm,
look
yeah,
so different
yeah,
for many families, and not being able to gather together. You mentioned for you and your wife about annual trips back here to the East Coast, and not being able to do that. So finding
mm,
simple ways, even just in the reading of Scripture, and the
yeah,
life that
yeah.
that can give.
Yeah, even it's funny. Even one of the readers is my wife, and of course, nobody. Lots of people don't like to hear their voice, right? And she, when we listen to her read it on the video in the, but there, I don't. Even then, there's something special about having that. There's something that connects in a different way, and we're even gonna. I'm actually getting ready to send. I have one of the readers. Their family lives abroad, actually in the Middle East. They're working there, and it's just kind of there's kind of something neat to say. Hey, you might want to listen to your mom read these 4 chapters. And um, there's just a connection there, and I think one of the things about that I'm enjoying, and I think it's good. Sometimes we focus on the Christmas story as we should this time of year, but I found it quite. Uh, it rounds out the story to read the whole story, right? To just keep that reminder that this is why he came, and it's wonderful to focus in on the baby boy, but of course we need to, and we need to be reminded of the cross, the where why he came, and I find that's been a great reminder for even me personally, and I think our church too.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. And I would certainly echo those thoughts as we close out this conversation, that, it's the reminder of why he came. Yes, there's that focal point during the Christmas season, but as we read through Luke's entire account, that it gives us this incredible picture that he came
Mm,
with such love
yeah,
for humanity. And as we read that, and as we hear different human voices that God himself created, and how, as you pointed out, how that brings new life
mm,
to Luke's
yeah.
story. So again, I just want to thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to be with us today. And on behalf of the folks here in Fredericton, certainly want to say hello. Know that we're praying alongside you and your
Mm.
church family there in North Bay, and we're enjoying this reading experience with you. So Merry Christmas to you, your family, and your church family there in North Bay.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on, and Merry Christmas to everyone there. And these are challenging times, without doubt. But boy, they're ripe with opportunity times that God can use, I think. So we're excited to see what He's going to do.